Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Investor Financing Podcast. On today's show, we're going to be talking about the tribe of millionaires. We're going to talk about Ascend and Emerge. We're going to be talking about life changes in your 40s and quitting the W-2 job that's paying you pretty well, but going where your passion aligns. And please welcome to the show, Jamie Gruber. Jamie, nice to meet you here on the show, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Beau, man, I appreciate this. I've watched your stuff for a long time. We've kind of crossed paths virtually, I guess you could say. So it's awesome to be here, man. Thank you.
Cool. So are you in Michigan?
I am.
All right. Nice. So were you born and raised in Michigan?
No. I'm a native New Yorker, a former Bostonian, and a 5-year Michigander.
Nice. Yeah. I like Michigan's a beautiful state. I just don't know if I could handle the cold. That's the only downfall.
No. It's funny. I've never lived in a warm climate ever. And, part of the story, as you were talking about leaving the job in the 40s and everything, it really was about lifestyle design or lifestyle freedom, I guess you could say, even ahead of financial freedom, full financial freedom. So in August, my wife is originally from the Dominican Republic. So I don't know when this will release, but in August of 2022, we're just going to move there for at least a year and let our kids get that experience and everything. But for the first time, I'll be in a warm weather climate for an entire year.
So are you bilingual?
No, that's another thing I want to be is learn the language. And, it's hard to do it when you're not around it all the time. So I figure, you know what, if I'm immersed, I got to pick up something, I hope.
So when I met my wife, I got married later in life. I got married at, I think I was 42 or 41. And my wife only spoke Spanish. I only spoke English when we met.
Wow. Where's she from?
Mexico.
Got it.
I was traveling with some friends, and my good friend, his wife, is from this small city of Mexico. So I met my wife through them, and then we hit it off, and it's interesting, just the communication level. She quickly learned English. But for a while, we were using Google Translate, and now I've been trying to learn Spanish, and it is difficult, right? We're so busy during the day. So I signed up for this. It's baselang.com, and you can get tutors online. So I have tutors. You can pick a class whenever you want. You do a 30-minute training. You can go over. They have a curriculum. And you can get teachers from the Dominican, from Mexico, from Costa Rica, and so it's been good. My problem is that I haven't scheduled enough appointments. Like, you can literally, for $150 a month, you can have 2 or 3 sessions a day if you wanted to. It's a good value if you use it, and the teaching's great. So just a little insight, but that's great. So anyways, you got involved with GoBundance, and then you became you had the idea of starting Emerge and Ascend, and to help aspiring entrepreneurs kind of cross that $1 million net worth barrier and be successful. So how did that, well, first of all, let's talk about the podcast too, because I think the podcast is, Tribe of Millionaires was originally a book that was written by the elders or the founders of GoBundance. And then they were doing a podcast, or did you actually come up with the podcast idea too on that?
Well, Pat Hyben was hosting what was known as the GoBundance podcast, which I think was intended to be internal, but it was on external platforms and was getting some listenership, a few hundred per episode. So the new name, it was my idea to kind of convert it.
So Tribe of Millionaires, basically it's a podcast, a show. It's on YouTube, it's on Stitcher, it's on all the major audio platforms. Yeah. You interview millionaires, right? And so what can you say has been your biggest takeaways over this? You've done probably close to 200 episodes or more.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the biggest couple nuggets you've gotten from interviewing all these really successful people?
The first is around identity. And the format for Tribe of Millionaires is every Friday we do an episode on with a GoBundance member, so a millionaire entrepreneur, part of GoBundance. And then Tuesdays we release an episode with like a non-member significant guest. It could be anything from celebrity through athlete through just somebody very interesting. It was an interesting story, but isn't overly well known. and an identity pops up. So there's been a few guests. One that jumps out. His name is, I love this guest. His name is Michael Francis. He's a former Colombo crime family boss, right? And now he's a speaker and all of that stuff. And for somebody like me or anybody out there who's maybe in a W-2 job, maybe they're paid a lot, and it's like, I mean, how do I leave that gig? I got a family, wife, kids, husband, whatever it might be, and go be an entrepreneur. It feels like this seismic, this huge sort of cavern in between where I am and where I'm trying to get to. So when I talk to a guy like Michael, there's a guy named Akshay Nanavati we talked to, a few guys in GoBundance as well, who go from literally the number 15 ranked by Fortune magazine, number 15 ranked mobster in the world in 1980 something, to now speaking on stages. And he was a made guy. If you know anything about the mafia, you follow Goodfellas or whatever, this dude did the blood oath. Like, you die if you leave the mob. He's alive. I asked him that on the episode. It was a little teaser for people who want to listen to it, but how is he still alive? But to go from I whatever, kill people and steal from people and intimidate and shake people down, to now I go into professional locker rooms to inspire, grown professional men on how they can be the best version of themselves. That makes the identity shift from W-2 to entrepreneur feel way smaller. So it just makes it possible. That's one big one. The second one is around the I would say the commitment level it takes to get from wherever you're trying to get to a peak performance level. And I've talked to a lot of people. This is GoBundance members as well as non-GoBundance members. And one guy that stands out, Sean Casey, who's a former 3-time Major League Baseball All-Star, played for the Reds and the Tigers, batted .560 in the World Series for the Tigers. He goes through all of the motions that he does, the reps that he puts in every day. And this is for, oh my God, this is for every guy, GoBundance guy or whatever. They've got these patterns and habits that they just anchor in. And when it comes to the moment, in his case, it was the last out, down 3-1 in St. Louis. He's the last out. It's 2 outs. If he's out, the series is over. He down 0-2 and hears the crowd going crazy, and he's just in his head. He steps out of the box and he goes through this breathing pattern, these repetitions, what he does with all of the things that he went through, like anchored in these habits, allowed him to, almost hit a home run in that moment. He didn't get out. He got on base and come through. So that those little elements of peak performance that are grounded in habits is the other big takeaway that I've gotten from some of these guys.
Yeah. It's really the habits that I see that real successful people have. It's not, there's no like secret sauce. It's really the habits people do, and they just perform, and they just do it so often, and they're very disciplined, right? The more disciplined they are, actually your life improves. I find that if you're disciplined, right? But it's cool as an entrepreneur, like you're going to go spend a year in the Dominican Republic. Maybe, who knows, you might spend longer if you end up loving it. So the Emerge program that you started is a course, and what's the fundamentals of the course? Who's coming to Emerge? What are they? They're usually W-2s and aspiring entrepreneurs,
for the most part, or side hustle entrepreneurs who just are starting out. So GoBundance it's a program that's in partnership with GoBundance. GoBundance requires the $1 million in net worth. So there's a lot of people out there that kind of, they get the concept of, I want to be in a room with high-level entrepreneurs because of what that can do, be held accountable by, share ideas with, all of that stuff. So who comes to Emerge is somebody who's stuck in some way, whether it's in a job or in their business or whatever, who's looking to get around other like-minded people, just like in GoBundance, right? All of us are lone wolves in our regular network, people that we are around, our family, our friends. Like, when we start growing in a certain direction, they don't quite get it. So you can't have those conversations about what you're trying to do because it could come across as disconnected or too risky, or even bragging sometimes, right? When you're not intending to. So getting around other people who are in that same space and being able to be vulnerable and open with conversations, those people come to find Emerge. So somebody who's stuck, who's looking for a community of like-minded people, like-minded entrepreneurial, I'll call it, maybe not entrepreneur full-time, but entrepreneurial minds is who finds Emerge. And then we really work through Emerge on very basic stuff in the beginning. We establish, a vision and how to craft one for yourself. We establish how you structure your goals, habits is our third kind of part of it. And then how you establish a plan that allows you not to fall off. Like, great, I put a vision together. Well, how do you recall that? How do you keep it front of mind? How do you keep on task with your goals? And then we introduce them to the concept of accountability and community we leverage the book Tribe of Millionaires. We go kind of through the modules of Tribe of Millionaires, connection and purpose and all of that stuff over the course of the 12 weeks. But we ask folks to come in and establish a goal at the beginning that they're going to meet by the end of it. And then we use the community to drive them there.
Hi, Beau Eckstein here, and I want to thank you for being a patron of this YouTube channel, or if you're listening on iTunes, Stitcher, or any of those audio platforms. I want to give you my book for free that I just wrote. It's called Launch, Expand, or Buy Your Next Business Using SBA Financing. And you can simply go to thesbabook.com and you can receive a free copy of my book. That's thesbabook.com. And thanks so much for being a valuable listener or viewer of the show. And I hope you enjoy the book. It's a very short book. It goes into detail. You can read it very quickly and get a good overview of all the benefits of using SBA financing. So thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Wow. Hey, can you talk about some of your top students that have gone through kind of some of the results that they're seeing?
Yeah. We've got 27 total people in the last year that have gone through Emerge into Ascend, which is if you graduate Emerge, you get to go there, and now up into GoBundance. So 27 people have gone all the way up to the millionaire level. The ones that I've seen that are the most successful, without giving names away, are those that come in and okay, here's the course. I paid for it. What are you going to give me? That's kind of the mindset of most people. But these folks come in and say, okay, I paid for access. Yeah, there's a course here. I'm going to go through that curriculum. I'm going to own it, but then I'm going to make sure I meet as many people as I can and network and add value to them. So we've got a guy out of Miami who did exactly that. He moved up into Ascend. He got connected to a GoBundance guy in Miami, and now they partnered in building a syndication business, right? So that's a really, really cool success story. We've got a guy in here in Michigan who, same thing, really owned it, went up through Emerge and Ascend, and now is partnering with another GoBundance guy on building a brand with him, along with raising capital for his syndication business on the East Coast. And there's 4 or 5 other examples like that where people have immersed themselves. They've valued connection, they've added value to others, and they've met the right people by doing so. They get noticed by the right people. We have a GoBundance guy come in every week on Tuesday night and talk to the group every week. It's called the Millionaire Case Study. And some of these folks reach out afterward, not to say, hey, can I get time from you? But more, this resonated with me. I would love to help you with that. Is there any way that I can help you with that? And the GoBundance guys, that's contribution is one of our things. They're like, absolutely, let's get on a call. Here's how you can help me. And it's formed partnerships with people. So we've seen so many millionaires created because they get proximity to GoBundance people by adding value to them. And now 27 of them have moved up into GoBundance. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. And so really, this has only been a year or so. So the next 5 years, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of people through.
That's my hope. Yeah,
so
it's funny. We put 350 people through Emerge in the first year, but only a certain number actually stay through the course. We require that they complete all 12 modules to go to Ascend. Only 100 went to Ascend, right? And then from that, 27 went to GoBundance. So, so we've kind of made it a bit of a gauntlet. We want only the best of the best in Ascend that really are going to drive one another. And we're seeing it. A quarter of them have gone to GoBundance. So I'm excited about that.
Sounds like the 80-20 rule. I mean, yeah. You know, everybody could do it, but at the end of the day, people drop out at module 2 and 3 and say, oh, this isn't for me. My life's in the way. Let's talk about, you're in your 40s. You're doing fairly well in the insurance business. Yeah. What was the breaking point for you to say, you know what, I need to I'm going to, being in your 40s, it's kind of a tough time, right? Like sure. You reflect a lot and you're thinking like, listen, I don't want to be grinding till I'm 65, right? Like, what do I do? What are the steps? I mean, there's so many people out there. So what was like the final breaking point? And then like, what was your thought process going full entrepreneur or self-employed?
Yeah. So the backstory on it, around 37, I moved to Michigan and got the job I wanted, the executive position, but was completely unfulfilled. And I found real estate, started buying some real estate and investing. That's how I found GoBundance, right? And eventually joined that group. But the breaking point, so I was building this side hustle. I was learning that real estate was exciting, but more exciting than that was talking about it. As weird as that sounds. So I built like a networking community. But then it was like, oh, I can only talk so much about real estate. That's what became Emerge and Ascend. So the idea of me as a brand, felt so weird to say, is like, who the hell do I think I am? Like, I'm not Tony Robbins. But once I owned that, hey, I don't need to be, I've got my message and I truly enjoy this. Jumping on a podcast, hosting a podcast, having an idea and then putting it out. And I was blessed with a level of communication. So all of this stuff was swirling. And I got to this point, it was right at 40, to be honest with you, on my 40th birthday, where I decided for me that well, I guess this was part one. Part one was at 40, I decided, you know what? I've been inauthentic with who I've been my entire life. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be a sportscaster. And then 3 years later, I became a claims adjuster, right? Like I completely abandoned the dream because of practicality. And I just started disconnecting from who I was little by little, year by year. So 40 was the point where I said, enough, I'm going to be me. And then 2 years later, we did our first month-long trip somewhere. My wife and kids and I went to Florida. I drove. Kids and wife flew down because I had the dogs and stuff like that. So I'm driving down to Florida. I had 3 days alone in the car where there's only so many podcasts and phone calls you can make. And I was in my head and started to really calculate what could I make if I left beyond what I have made as a side hustle? Where am I from a passive income perspective? What do I have saved? What would happen if I left? And then the big message to me, and I hate that it was a friend of mine who was a few years older than me with 2 young kids, walked into the hospital with some chest pain on a Friday and never came out. And it was just like, you know what? I know exactly what I need to do. And the biggest piece in all of that, I'm trying to build toward the, at least somewhat chronologically here, but that definitely floored me. But the biggest thing was I stopped in that moment looking at, because you're 40, like you said, I don't want to grind till I'm 65, but I'm also not 22 with no kids and, unattached. I have a wife, kids. My wife doesn't work, health insurance, all these things are going through your brain. But instead of looking back at like, man, and I always did this, like at 22, as serious as I thought my life was, how ridiculous was I, right? Like, I wish I can go back and shake that 22-year-old kid. Like, you're a child. Go enjoy life, travel Europe, whatever. You have time, enjoy it. Rather than looking that way, I looked forward and I could picture myself at like 90. And in this moment, if I know me and I know myself at 90, asking my 90-year-old self or hitting him, approaching him and saying, hey, what should I do here? I know he wasn't going to say, look, man, I wish you would have just grinded it out in an unfulfilling job because it made really good money and you can take care of your family. I know he wouldn't say that. I know I wouldn't say that to me from 90 to 40. Instead, he would say, you're 40, dude. As complex as you thought your life was at 22, and now you got kids and a wife, it's complex. I'm going to die. That's really complex. Go live your life. Enjoy it. Figure it out. You'll have some highs. You'll have some lows. Go do what you think is best for you. That to me, future regret was what really fueled me to say it's time. And I left the job right after that.
And during the process, and how many years ago was that?
A little over a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, and how do you feel that now? Like, is your life just completely different from a mindset perspective? And it must be a big change for you. Like, you've really kind of transitioned a 180, and now you're doing, you would have probably never guessed what you'd be doing now, right? Like all this cool things you've created. And you created them through relationships, right? Like these things opened up. So a common theme is that people that are ingrained in creating relationships are the ones that are really kind of like if I heard what I heard you talking about the guys and gals in Emerge, the ones that were really concentrated on relationships and meeting people. Because that's where you get the most knowledge, I think, right? It's people that you're surrounded with, and you get, when I interview somebody on my podcast, right, I get a little nugget or 2 nuggets and so I've done a couple hundred now. And then you stop and think, because like I might interview somebody that's really good in multifamily, or somebody that's really good in self-storage, or somebody that owns franchises and has made millions of dollars operating these franchise companies, and you're always like learning, right? So the more people you can get around that have success, and it doesn't necessarily mean financial success, right? It's just lifestyle success. I look at some people, maybe in like GoBundance, right? You have the people that want to be billionaires, right? Like And then you have people that are just like, hey, I just want X amount monthly net cash flow coming in, and that's good. I'm more of that type of person that I look at it like it's the cash flow and it's a lifestyle. I don't need to be worth X amount of millions of dollars. It's to me that doesn't really matter. It's more about the lifestyle, and I think that's kind of how you are too. You really are more of a creative type, and I've been in real estate for 20 years in the lending business, and I've bought as a real estate broker and investor, and I would say that I have passion for it, but I'm not 100% passionate about real estate. But I know it's a means of creating revenue streams. I think groups like yours and groups like GoBundance, right? What you really learn is you learn that most of these people have multiple streams of income. They're not just fixated on one asset class. They have multiple buckets of income coming in, and what kind of once they go into Ascend, what kind of do you do get-togethers and you have speakers? What's the foundation of that? Is it a similar of GoBundance in certain ways where you do like these masterminds?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a little like I look at Ascend is like your master's program or whatever before you go into like GoBundance, which is just living, right? Like you graduated, and so GoBundance is more like, hey, here's some content for you to consider. Do with it what you will, right? Like just like life. We built Ascend to be that, yes, but also give some structure or curriculum to it. So there's a couple different things that we do in Ascend. One is we have group coaching. So I hired a couple of coaches that have coached me. They built a 12-month coaching curriculum, and we have group coaching calls every month so that people can kind of get through their brain, right? We talk about eliminating things that aren't serving you. I'm sorry, illuminating what your limiting beliefs are, eliminating those beliefs, calibrating you on the best version of you, and then accelerating you into that. So we spend a year doing that, right? Like every month. But in the middle of it, we have our accountability pods. We have these micro tribes on content, like a Bitcoin micro tribe, a short-term rental micro tribe, a parenting micro tribe, right? So people can rally around that. But we also do what's called we're calling it our proximity power series. So every Wednesday, a GoBundance member comes in and trains on a specific thing. Like we had one person come in and train on the three questions there are three questions answered on luxury short-term rental plus the one you want to know or you haven't asked, right? Like we have a specific, almost like a TED talk every Wednesday from a GoBundance member. And then we have a one-sheet review with a GoBundance member once a month as well. So we give them access, proximity to GoBundance members. We give them curriculum and content, and we give them the ability to network with one another with these pods and everything. And we do 2 events a year right now. So that's kind of the flow of what Ascend looks like.
And so now that you're, have created your vision and left the W-2 job, I heard you say you had some coaches and stuff. Do you still have coaches? What are you doing? What have you learned that by following and interviewing these people through Tribe of Millionaires? What are some things that you do for personal development today?
Yeah, always have coaches. I have a coach for mindset. I have a coach for health. I have a coach for we have a coach for relationships, right? Like I have coaches in every area of life. The biggest thing I'm learning, it's funny, I'm in this season right now, especially as we're recording this, you can feel this pullback economically. You can feel this sort of, I don't know, everyone's unsure of what's going to happen next. Will there be a recession? Won't there? There's the war in Ukraine. Interest rates are climbing. Inflation. Strawberries are expensive, right? All this stuff is kind of out there at the moment. The biggest thing I'm learning from the people I interview is they understand, I guess it's presence. They understand that whatever is. They don't force. They allow themselves to sort of be in the moment, understand what's going to happen, what they think is going to happen next, and then just take action toward that. So my whole career, I felt like I was always looking at the result. If I get this job, I can make a lot of money. And the entrepreneurs that I really, actually, one of them is my partner in GoBundance. Talk about relationships. I leave my job and I've got a guy with a syndication business saying, hey, come join my general partnership. So I'm like, absolutely, I will, because I can really focus on marketing and investor relations, things I'm good at in real estate. But like him, for instance, by day, he's an Emmy-nominated writer for Family Guy, right? And by night, he has this $200 million portfolio in his syndication business. Like, significant dude, unbelievable guy. He's in GoBundance. Mark is his name. But like what he said when he was a writer, he's like, I never thought about the result. I just love to write. So every day he put his head down in front of him and he would just write, do those reps. And that's what I learned from from the great entrepreneurs. David Osborne's the same. Yeah, they have goals. Yeah, they have ambitions, but they kind of put them out and then they just look down in front of them. And every day they do the things that are the most fulfilling for them. And then one day they look up, and in Mark's case, he's writing for David Letterman. And then one day he looks up again and, oh my God, he's writing the pilot episode for this show he didn't think was going to get off the ground called Family Guy. And then I'm writing the new Naked Gun, which is going to come out next year, I think, with Liam Neeson, right? Like he just does what he's passionate about and is fulfilling for him, and he's great at. He allows his gift to exist each and every day, and the results come. So surrendering a bit is my opportunity, and I'm learning from some of the most of these guys, all of these guys, that is the core sort of competency that seems to fuel the great entrepreneurs that I see. And
it sounds like you really kind of now are focused in on the things that you excel at, that you like to do. You like putting things together. You probably enjoy real estate, but you're not
not my thing.
You don't want to be the operator.
Correct.
You love real estate, but it's like, so I think that's important too, right? You gotta figure out what skills you have and what you really enjoy to do, and it seems like you found it. And so it's been an amazing journey for you, I'm sure. And then when are you leaving for the Dominican?
August is the plan. We're going to go beginning of August, sometime in August, and then spend. I think you're right. We'll probably end up spending 2 years, but we'll say a year for now.
That's amazing too. And I mean, I always dream about that. Like now that I have family in Mexico, I'm like, I started looking at real estate there. It's like it's close, it's easy. It's like and really you can do it, right? Like there's nothing holding me. I work out of my home office anyways. Doesn't matter. I could be doing it in Mexico. It's the beauty of technology.
That's the lifestyle design piece. Like I said, when I was leaving my job, I mean, do I want to grind and make as much money as possible? Sure. I mean, you have to support your family. It's just the reality of it. But more than that, it was okay, well, anything I do needs to be virtual. And then even our kids' schooling, we use Acton Academy as a school because they encourage life experience. Travel is part of that life experience. So we can structure so our kids can go to school while not being right here, right? And get the education they need and so on and so forth. So everything we do is structured around that lifestyle freedom that we crave. Because I don't want to wait till they're 15, till it's like absolutely ideal. I want to do it now. They're 7 and 4, my two boys, right? So I want to do it now while they're at this age, not wait until I have 2 summers left or whatever and regret it.
That's so cool. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We could go on forever about a lot of this stuff, but I highly suggest you listen to Tribe of Millionaires. And if you're interested in the Emerge program, where's the best place for them to go?
GoBundanceEmerge.com, all one word, GoBundanceEmerge.com.
And we'll put a link in the show notes. All right, guys, thanks for joining us on another episode. This one wasn't specific to real estate, but I'm trying to get away from just doing podcasts just on real estate because a lot of successful real estate people, it's really not about the real estate. It's about relationships, and it's about community, and it's about finding the right partners. Right, like Jamie did. Jamie's now, a GP helping raise capital in big deals for a successful syndicator. And it wasn't like he had to go reinvent the wheel. He just using his strengths that he has. So that's what I like about the syndication business too, is that everybody has different strengths, and so you got to figure out where your strengths are. And now instead of going and buying a 8-unit property in the Midwest, you can go buy a 300-unit or be a small piece of this 300-unit apartment complex that's professionally managed and so forth. So that's beautiful thing. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I loved it, and Jamie, it was a pleasure to have you on the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you.